Hi guys, welcome back to our Express Pilates class for another week. Always a pleasure to have you. My name's Chris. I'm an exercise physiologist here at Better Exercise Physiology in Healesville. We're going to get stuck straight into today's class. I've got an awesome workout for you. We'll make a start lying on your back on the mat. So in this class, we're going to be focusing on how to stabilize your pelvis, your hip bones. If you can't stabilize your pelvis, it doesn't matter how much strength you have up the rest of the spine, you're still going to be weak and you're going to be unstable. It all comes down to your base and that being your pelvis. So we'll make a start on your back. We want to find our neutral position of the pelvis and the neutral position of your lower back. To do this, we're going to start with some tilting. I want you to flatten that space under your lower back by pressing your lower back down on the mat. From there, roll the pelvis forwards and let it arch up off the mat. You'll feel under your lower back, we have that little sort of gap, a little bit of a bridge. From there, we flatten that bridge out by tucking back. You should be able to feel your hip bones, your pelvis, rolling forwards and back as we do this. Arching up and then flattening back down. Closing that space down and then opening that space up. Go as far as you can in either direction. So we're pressing the lower back all the way down and then we're arching up as high as we can. And you should be able to feel at the back of your pelvis. We're just pivoting off your pelvis. We're rolling on it forwards and back, creating that arch and then creating that flat back. Do a few more. Firstly, this is really nice to loosen up through the lower back by doing that pelvis, but it's also good to get some awareness over the positions of your pelvis and the positions of your lower back. We want to bring our spine into our neutral position where we're halfway between the end ranges in the mid range. This is the strongest position for your back. It's where all the core muscles are working in balance. So if you're doing any lifting or even just when you're sitting, we want to be able to find that neutral position of the pelvis. And this is a really good way to learn that. So on this next one, go as far as you can, arch the back up, press it right up, flatten right down, and then I want you to come halfway. So we'll come midway, and you should be able to feel your lower back is either just lifted or very lightly touching the mat. Your hip bones, the back of your pelvis is very heavy on the mat, and the back of the rib cage is very heavy, but the lower back is just really light. And that is that neutral position of your lower back. There should be just enough room to slide your fingers underneath. And what we're going to do, I want you to bring your fingers underneath, just light pressure on your hands, draw your belly button down towards your spine. So suck your stomach in, just tighten the belly button down, doesn't have to be very hard, and then bring one leg up into tabletop. So floating that leg up and then back down, making sure the pressure on your hands has not changed at all. So we've still got that neutral spine, the pelvis and the lower back is still in neutral. Belly button drawn down, that's going to set your abdominals, and then float the other leg up in the tabletop and then back down. Relax in between, draw your belly button down, tighten through the stomach, float your leg up. But it's going to continue alternating, one leg then the other, relaxing in between, then float the opposite leg up, trying to hold that position of your pelvis, trying to hold your pelvis in neutral. Really basic exercise to start, but if you can't do this well, there's no point progressing to the harder exercise after it. It's really good to start with the easier ones, warm up with them, get that really good, and then progress from there. Now, if you feel like you've got good control here and the pelvis stays still, bring your leg up into tabletop, hold it there, stretch a leg out away from you. You can go out and down towards the ground without just before you touch it, bring the leg back in and then back down to the mat. And then we're going to do the same over on the other leg. Float it up into tabletop, stretch it out, down towards the ground, float it back in and then down. Once again, making sure that pressure has not changed on your hands. Drawing your belly button down towards the spine. So that's going to help engage your deeper core. Stretch the leg out, bring it back in, and then back down, making sure your lower back doesn't arch up as that leg stretches away. If it does, we've got to focus more on engaging our core muscles. We might just need to make the exercise a little bit easier, but not going quite as far with the leg out. We also want to make sure that your pelvis isn't rotating towards the side, so the weight doesn't shift towards your left hip as the left leg stretches away, or the right hip as the right leg stretches away. So we're keeping it neutral from left to right, as well as forwards and back. Let's make it a little bit harder. I want you to bring your arms up towards the roof, reach them up, just being aware that we're still in that neutral position with your lower back. Float your right leg up to tabletop. Belly button drawn down, stretch your right leg and the opposite arm away. Bring them back in and then place your leg back down the mat. Then on the other side, float your left leg up, belly button drawn down. Keep those core muscles on, keep your pelvis neutral, and then bring the leg back down. A few more of those. The leg comes up, the arm and leg stretch away, the belly button stays drawn down, keeping a really strong core. Making sure your lower back does not arch up. Making sure your rib cage doesn't arch up. Leg comes up first, arm and leg away, reaching out long, maintaining that neutral spine. And you can just feel that space under your lower back. Make sure it's not coming up into that bridge position. It's just very lightly touching the mat. Let's do a couple more, a little bit harder. If you've got control, both arms reaching overhead. Still one leg, but both arms. So these exercises, they aren't super hard, but they really work on that control. If you do them well, it becomes quite challenging. You can easily do these exercises really poorly, but to do them well actually requires quite a bit of challenge. Let's do a few more to finish off, reaching away as far as you can, arms and legs back in, placing that leg back down each time, belly button drawn down towards your spine. That's holding that neutral position of the lower back. Once again, your core is a lot stronger in neutral. Your back is a lot stronger, a lot less likely to do any damage to our back when we're in a neutral spine. For example, once again, when you're lifting, make sure you're in neutral. That way the disc is less likely of getting damaged. Just going to do one more, floating your leg up, reach the arm and leg all the way out, bring them back in, and then rest your knee down. The arms can come down. I just want you to make sure you're still in a neutral position. Tilt your pelvis forwards, tilt it back, come halfway. So in that neutral position, our feet are hip distance apart, knees are bent still, arms down at your sides, and we're going to come up into a bridge. Lifting your hips up off the mat, and then lowering back down. In past classes, we've done them curling the spine up. This time, I want you to keep your back straight, making sure it stays in a neutral position. So we're in a neutral spine, that doesn't change the whole way up. As we lower back down, we're still in that neutral position. Nothing has changed with the back, we're just hinging at our legs, hinging at our hips. The pelvis stays neutral, the lower back stays neutral. So I want you to focus on keeping that neutral position. Think about having a rod through your spine from the top of the neck down towards your tailbone where the pelvis starts. Keeping that as straight as you can. That rod doesn't bend. As you lift, squeeze through your glutes to lift up. We'll do a few more of these, then we'll extend it a little bit further, make it a little bit more challenging. Good. On this next one, lift up and hold. I want you to bring your hands onto your hip bones at the front of the pelvis. So you've got those bony parts at the front. Making sure they're level, making sure your lower back is neutral. So I've just got that small arch. I want you to try and straighten one leg away. And then place it back down the mat. And we're going to do the same on the opposite leg. The hands are on those hip bones to give you that feedback to make sure your pelvis isn't rotating and dropping to the side or rotating and dropping to the other side. So keep the hip bones lifted. Try and keep that position. We're really strong through the lower back, strong through your glutes, still in neutral spine, shoulder blades pulled back. That's going to help support the lower back if we can strengthen and brace through the upper back. Let's do 10 more of these. Reaching that leg away. That was 1, 2, 3. Shoulders pulled back. Pelvis stays level. 4, 5, 6. Push your heel into the mat each time. That's going to get your glutes working. That was 7, 8, 9. Last one. 10. And lowering your hips down. Hug your knees into your chest just to rest before we go on. Good to let those back muscles relax. We're going to do one more exercise. We're going to get you up standing for this last exercise. So we're going to be using the wall for balance. I want you to try and lift your hip up as high as you can and then lower back down. Lift your hip up your foot will come about an inch up off the ground and then lower back down. What we're doing is tilting our pelvis to the side, lowering back down. Lean over towards the wall just slightly. That's going to give us a little bit more range of movement. We're lifting the pelvis up, lifting that foot off the ground, and then lowering back down. It's a very small movement, but what you'll feel is your glutes working here, your obliques working on the opposite side. And those muscles work to twist and rotate the pelvis and lift it up. So when we're talking about stability around our pelvis, it's not just forwards and back at the pelvis, it's also side to side. And that's what we're doing now, is strengthening up the muscles that stabilize that lateral stability of the pelvis. On this next one, lift up and hold. And then I want you to bring your leg out to the side, leading with your heel first, and then bring it back in. Keep this hip lifted, so up on a bit of an angle with this side of the pelvis lifted up as high as you can. We're going to do 10. That's 5, leading with your heel first, bringing that leg in and out. 6, slight lean with the upper body, pelvis stays lifted. 7, 8, 9, and 10, and bring that foot down over onto the other side. So using the wall for balance, slightly leaning against the wall, we're going to lift our hip up and then lower it back down. Lift that hip up, the foot will come about an inch up off the ground, and then lower it back down. Once again, we're working our glutes, particularly our glute med, which is one of the smaller muscles part of that glute, and our obliques over on the opposite side. Your obliques contract between your rib cage and your pelvis. Up as high as you can. We've got a couple more, then we're going to finish with that. It's called a hip abduction when we bring the leg out to the side. On this next one, lift up and hold as high as you can with that hip bone. We're up on an angle. We're leading with our heel first, bringing the leg out to the side and back in. Slight lean in towards the wall. That's 3. We're going up to 10 again. 4, slow and controlled, heel first. 5, keep that hip as high as you can. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and just shake those legs out. We are all done for today's class. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took something out of it. If you can go through those exercises a few times throughout the next week, it's just going to really pick up your awareness of our neutral spine. It's also going to help improve your strength and your ability to stabilize, which is really important to help prevent injuries like any back pain or any hip or knee issues as well. Now, if you enjoyed the class today, go over to our website at betterexercise.com.au. Take a look at all our other videos and all our other resources and information we have over there. Come down and try one of our classes here in Healesville at the Healesville Chiropractic Clinic and see what you think. Have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.